Hello, it's only me. I just wanted to share how I'm feeling at the moment. I know it's a bit unusual. I normally sit here reading to you, and I have been reading to you in Spanish a lot recently, and I've been telling you about my workshops, etc. But I just wanted to just sit down and tell you what my day was like today. I've just finished my second workshop of the day, and I'm left with this immense sense of having had the privilege and having been blessed to have held what I believe to be incredibly precious, which is people's ideas about themselves, their impressions about who they are, who we all are, and how that sense is constructed. We had conversations today around identity. We had conversations around how we feel about ourselves and the purpose and the point in knowledge, how we relate to our own sense of memory, how we tolerate the present, how we behave in the present, how to stop in the present and be mindful, how difficult that is. And just now we had a conversation about violence and anger. We had been reading a story with the Wogden Library group, which is a group has been meeting for years now. We normally meet at the library, but of course now we can't do that, so we have been meeting online. And we had read stories from a book called Resist, Stories of Uprising, which are stories about, particularly about people being vocal about what they're unhappy with, and normally inequality, unfairness, etc. So today we had read a story about a demonstration, an anti-fascist demonstration from 1979, and there had been some police brutality and somebody had been killed in the story. And we talked about, of course, how we relate to violence and what happens once violence has erupted, and how we assess how we feel we got there. Of course, the conversation ended with us thinking of how important it is to talk about things, how important it is to talk our anger out, how important it is to feel and realize that things are much more complex than they seem. By the time anger erupts, it seems that everything is very solid, two solid blocks against each other. And of course, reality is much more complex than that. But how important it is to think and reflect of the way in which we construct ourselves in our context, and how we feel about what we are supposed to do with our anger, and to what extent we feel empowered to deal with our anger. This afternoon we read a story by Borges called Funes el Memorioso, Funes the Memorious, or Funes his memory, which was all about memory and how we relate to how we build memories, how we can be in charge of our memories, and how the memories that sometimes we feel are true, or we ascribe a sense of truth to, are just constructed by our environment, by our context. So all this is just to share with you how important I think literature is in our lives, how important stories are, because ultimately stories allow us to reflect on how everything that we hold true, everything that we understand to be who we are, how we are, the world that we inhabit, is constructed in a web of stories. And it is up to us to find in those stories the power to either own the story or let it go. It is really important when we read a literary text that we are able to identify those threads that construct it, so that we can choose in our real stories, the stories that make up our lives, which of those threads we want to keep in the weave that makes us who we are, and which of those threads we don't want in our weave. So that's the incredible healing power of literature. The power of literature is not just that it makes us feel better, makes us feel happy, or it relaxes us, or it helps us pass the time and forget about our reality. The healing power of literature lies precisely in the possibility of empowering ourselves from the very threads of the weave that makes us who we are. It's taking the threads from the story that already is. It's not about fantasizing about another possible story that would be wonderful to have. No, it's about constructing a new set of threads from what is already there. And that is why literature is healing and can be healing. So I am very, very grateful to the people who have spoken to me today. I feel immensely blessed and humbled by how open and how generous everybody who took part in my workshops was today, because I have immense respect for people sharing their stories, for people sharing their dreams, their fears, their worries, their expectations about the future, their memories, their histories, their identities, who they are. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Read on, trust yourself, trust the text, and trust the process. Own your story. It's yours. Thank you for listening.